to PentaLive from Pentalog. I'm Peter Green in New York. We are bringing you, as usual, the tools and techniques to survive and thrive in the remote and complex world of COVID-19. Today, I'm coming to you from New York. Our guest is Nancy Wang, who is the COO for the Americas of Pentalog. And Nancy is going to be talking to us about instilling accountability in remote teams. And we're all working these days with remote teams. So this is really a hot topic. How do you make remote teams work better? We'll be right back after a short piece of music, and I'll introduce you to Nancy. If you haven't met these benchmarks by tomorrow green, you're out.
Right.
And that kind of keeps people on the edge of their seats the whole time, but it makes it easy for managers. How does this, what are the advantages of doing it in an encouraging way?
Well, there's a system/methodology out there called OKR. So OKR is O for objectives and KR for key results. And it is a more positive way of working with teams across companies, business units, projects, and the objectives that you set out are more business related. They're not product related. It's more about, giving you example, increase subscriptions or increase revenue, increase leads. So it's something that the whole team can gather around and collaborate on in order to reach a certain key result.
And how do you do these O's and KRs? First off, how do you define them? Is that defined collaboratively or top down? And then how do you implement them, share them, and keep track of them?
Mm-hmm. Well, how they're defined is it's not necessarily top down because we want to get away from the hierarchical view and pyramidal view of a company's organization. But let me give you an example first, and then I'll come back to answer in more generic terms. Say I'm an HR SaaS company, and my objective is to increase subscriptions. Okay. Then my key results are increase subscriptions from sector A, let's say by 30%, improve retention from 70 to 75%, improve monetization from 8% of subscribers to 10% of subscribers. As you can tell, it's more holistic and business related. And then what we do is there's OKRs that are set at the company level, at the business unit level, at the project and team level, and at the individual level. Okay. But everyone needs to buy in. Everyone needs to commit and say, this is what is achievable. I can get there, even if it's my own KRs or if it's at a team level or a business unit level.
And how does this work out sort of culturally? I mean, you might have a team where some people are in, say, New York and others are in, I don't know, Paris or, somewhere in, sunny Florida. I mean, how do you get them all thinking the same way and all agreeing to do it?
Well, it's
I'm at the lower end. I've got a deliverable. I'm, say, I don't know, a programmer or a salesperson, and we're trying to increase, as you say, subscriptions to a product. So we need to change the product a bit. We need to get it out in front of more potential customers, et cetera. How much say do I have? I mean, do you start by sounding me out? Do you start by going around your people and saying, okay, here's our objective. Now, how do you think we can meet it? Or how does that work exactly?
No, we set it by teams because, as I said, it is part of a team. So as part of the company, we want to increase subscriptions. That's the set of OKRs I just explained a little earlier. But then let's say now I'm the person leading the marketing team, all right? And I gather my team. We know what the company's objectives and key results are. So what can we as the marketing team do to help that OKR and achieve that OKR? So we might want to, because we're an omni-channel, multi-market marketing team, we can increase subscriptions via PPC campaigns, via email campaigns, via outbound programs, and then we set KRs for each of those. So, let's increase AdWords by 5%. Let's increase email for audience A by 4%, or the engagement, let's say. And then each individual will have his or her own KRs to bring to the table and commit as each person puts them forth and discusses with the team together. And so that's where the accountability is. And I'm going to go back to that word because it's the own person's commitment and responsibility to say, I can achieve these for the team, for the business unit, for the company.
So talk to me a little bit about transparency in here. How do you make sure, how important is that? And how do you make sure that each person's KRs are, visible to the others? Because I assume as you go through a project, there's always going to be some realignment day to day, week to week, or month to month of realigning things, right?
Always.
Yeah.
And with, I would even say, even before COVID, this system worked really well across many different companies. Google, for instance, is a company that has adopted and led the way for the OKR system. And so, as Google is well known across the world, it isn't something that is a fad that's going to go away. It's something that's actually working quite well. And so, as you say, for the transparency, when we set them up, they're set up by quarter. Some might be set up on an annual basis, but really they're sort of set up in a way that makes sense and is relevant. And the setup takes a little bit of time, but once they're set up, the managing of the OKRs is extremely important, and that's where the transparency comes as well and continues. So we, especially these days in now going completely remote, I'll say, we used to do weekly meetings and they're called tactical meetings because we also follow the holacracy approach. But we've changed to daily stand-ups in order to check in on a daily basis. It is not, as you can imagine, on a daily basis, it's not an in-depth dive on each of the KRs, but it is a check-in to see if anyone has any blockers for progress. And that way, on a very, very consistent basis, the team is getting visibility to all the progress that's being made across OKRs. So
if I want to set something up like this in my company or my unit, how do I do it? Are there online tools? Are there specific software applications, or do I just use like a Google Sheet and something that everyone can share?
That's a really great question. There are, as with any kind of tool or platform, there are a myriad, a number of different options. If a team wants to start out really quickly, you can certainly use a Google Sheet because it is very simple, sort of the template to set up. But there are dedicated OKR platforms on the other end of the spectrum. And and some of those, I'll just name a couple of examples. There's Lattice, also 15.5, but also in the middle, there's a lot of management systems, project management or HR systems that have carved out a portion of that platform dedicated to OKRs. And so Asana, Reich, they also have part of that platform that people can use for OKRs.
Interesting. And the OKR, so when you get the system up and running and everybody's built into it, you've got this sort of basically a constant feedback loop, right?
Exactly.
And this is applicable to more than just tech focused businesses. This could be used in businesses that, whether it's business services or manufacturing or sales and distribution.
Absolutely. This OKR system is, let's say, industry agnostic. Anybody can use it in any company, small or large. It is really helpful. It is, one of the things about the individuals putting forth their own KRs and even at other levels, it is trying to ensure that we're all pushing the boundaries a little bit more in order to better ourselves, but better the business or the growth. But it is something that, one of the phrases that we also like to say about OKRs is brutal honesty without judgment. It is something that is really right there in front of you, but there isn't the judgment piece because it is such a collaborative effort among people and teams to make it a web of synergistic efforts for the company.
I love that bit about without judgment. Again, I must have come away from my last couple of corporate jobs with some sort of post-corporate traumatic stress disorder, because just the concept of hearing that somebody works for HR, that it's time for my review, or could you write up your job description, are things that just send a chill down my spine. But can you get rid of those kind of classic tools using this?
You can, and companies have done it, and we're trying to do it as well. One of the things about the OKR system is it really changes the way companies can do the annual reviews. In fact, companies can get rid of the annual reviews. There might be some elements that need to be talked about on an annual basis, but in fact, not really if the OKR system is put into place. Because annual reviews are all about, well, what are your strengths? What are your areas of improvement? And just as you said, it sends chills down people's spines once they're called into their annual review. But with the OKR system, you're consistently looking at your progress, your performance, but in the context of a team. And so it's more a coaching style. It's more people coaching each other so that no one's falling through the cracks and falling sort of down on the job. And it's an exchange. It's a two-way street, three-way street, four-way street. and it's 360. It's not only top down. So it's a really powerful system that a company can use.
That's fascinating. So if you when you adopt a system like this, what do you have to tell people who are new to this about? Is there a transition period for their thinking, for the way they conceive of working together?
With any company and any change, there always is a bit of a transition period. Let's be honest here. But I think that once, you start with the OKR system and realizes that it works, I mean, it's very in tandem with the agile methodology, right? Start, iterate, improve, and it will be more and more pervasive across the company. It is something that we can see positive outcomes immediately if we start within a team. And so I think it can be very powerful.
We have a question from the audience here, Nancy. How do you set personal OKRs versus OKRs for the company as a whole? Can you delve into that a little bit? I know you touched on it earlier, but maybe you could go a little deeper here.
Sure. Well, your personal OKRs are really along the lines of what your team wants to achieve. So if I'm on the marketing team, I'm going to go back to my example again. If I'm on the marketing team and I know I need to increase subscriptions, increase leads, there's a quantitative aspect and a qualitative aspect. The qualitative aspect is something that we can affect and make sure that it works across the board. But at the end of the day, what's going to count to is the qualitative tracking of it all. All right. And that's what's going to show to the rest of the company that there are concrete results. Now, OKRs is different from KPIs. I just want to make that distinction. KPIs, key performance indicators, are those that you set up and are stats that you're tracking for a particular trend or just analytics in general. OKRs is really sort of performance-based and making sure that the growth and profitability of a company is achieved in the way that the team wants it to be achieved.
So do you get rid of KPIs if you move to an OKR system or not?
No, not at all. Not at all. They work in tandem and they're a bit distinctly different because KPIs are, you're looking at KPIs as you're analyzing, let's say, going back to the example again, the marketing team, there's KPIs that you would be taking a look at to see if this marketing campaign is working along the marketing funnel. Are there issues along the marketing funnel? Let's say the conversion rate is lower than expected. So that is a KPI that you're looking at. But your overall OKR is you want to be increasing the conversion rate. And so have you done that at the end of the day, in quotes? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And what's been the reaction of people on your team who've come from places that have not had this kind of system before? What have you seen among both managers and non-manager employees?
Well, there's always a little bit of hesitation, but again, there's a myriad of different people who embrace new methodologies in different ways and in different time frames. But what I've seen is once there's a team that has embraced it and we show results from it, then it's easier to understand that this is yet not another gadget. It's not yet another accountability system that will either punish me in one way or not in another way. And it'll be easier to digest if we see something real and live.
And we have another question from the audience about how transparent OKRs are. So does everyone see everybody else's OKRs?
Absolutely. And that's part of the collaborative aspect because we're not operating in silos of OKRs. And what I mentioned earlier about our tactical meeting is that we share progress on the OKRs in that tactical meeting. And now, again, as we've gone completely remote, we've gone from a weekly check-in to a daily check-in. We take a look at how those OKRs are progressing, and it's the team looking at them, but then teams of teams are looking at them, and they're sort of, quote unquote, posted, so that if someone were interested from the sales team, on the marketing team's OKRs, completely welcome to take a look, because there's also an exchange of ideas across that. If we're looking at the OKRs of another team, there might be ideas that the production team might have or the product development team might have that will be very useful.
It seems like if you're a remote company, one of the problems remote companies have always had, or strongly remote companies have always had, is onboarding new people. It seems that if you move to a system like this, which really is almost designed for remoteness, you avoid a lot of the problems that a remote company would have onboarding people into a company ethos and into a company collaborative working style, because it's so fundamentally collaborative through the online mechanism.
It is at its core collaborative. Collaboration is key here, and because everyone is marching towards the same common goal and understanding for the company, but everyone has their own part in the whole story. And so that's the beauty of it, is if someone's coming in as a new hire and they're being onboarded, they know what their role is, they know how they fit in, they know what their KRs are, they can see the KRs around them, and then even at the company level. So they understand they're part of this web and can sort of act accordingly in their daily work. And again, it is remote or not remote, this is a perfect system to actually be using in this time.
Now, if somebody is having difficulty meeting their KRs or understanding how they particularly fit into the objectives, do they get help from other team members? Can people help them meet these things? Because that, when you use sort of personal KPIs and metrics in a more punitive, if I can use that word, method of trying to get people to work, often that's frowned upon. It's a much more sink or swim atmosphere.
Yes. So what this system is trying to foster is collaboration and helping each other. So there is no competition. There is no, if I achieve my KRs, I get a bigger bonus than you. It is more trying to help each other achieve the common goal. So I can certainly help my teammate. My teammate can help another one. We can even have group sessions around KRs in order to make sure that we're on track with an individual's KRs. It is an approach that is that sort of warrants that, almost mandates that, I want to say. So.
Okay. Is there anything else I should? And we're coming close to the end of our session. Is there anything else I should ask you about this that managers should know if they want to start implementing an OKR system?
Well, what I would say is, this is not a new trend that will sort of dissipate into the future. When we see the light at the tunnel with the COVID period, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later. And I know everyone is hoping the same thing, but it is something that can be embraced going into the future, because I think that the way we need to change management of companies and of teams is right here in the palm of our hands. There's an opportunity here, because we've seen that as people went remote, teams went remote, there's been a lot more productivity on the whole, on the average. And it also, thanks to the OKR system, we can keep up that productivity and even increase it more. So I would say that this is more a part of change management for a company, and it, bit by bit, it will be very much instilled in a team's culture, a company's culture, and I would really embrace this method going forward. I think it would be very productive for the employees and the network of people that are involved in a company, because it's not only employees, it's people that you also work with outside the company, whether it be vendors, suppliers, contractors. It's not just internal, I would say. So it is something that is pervasive and can really help for the long-term success.
It's interesting. It might even help if, governments and could incorporate some of this kind of thinking in trying to defeat the coronavirus. I mean, being
Absolutely.
More agile and constantly thinking about the long-term goals and the short-term ways to get there.
And one last note is, I would say that for companies out there who are utilizing the agile methodology, this works hand in hand with that methodology. Product development teams, marketing teams working in a sprint-like mode. These KRs do not conflict with the sprint goals. In fact, they support and bolster the sprint goals even more because it's an encouragement and a play back and forth on getting to the next level.
Wow. Okay, Nancy. Listen, thank you very, very much for joining us. This was really clear, elucidating. I wish I had been working for a company way back when I suffered my terrible experiences with HR and metrics, performances, that use something more along these lines. It sounds like not only humane, but a great motivating and a very efficient or efficiency-inducing tool. So thank you all for joining us with DEF CON 19 from PentaLog and PentaLive. Our guest today was Nancy Wang, who is PentaLog's COO for the Americas. I'm Peter Green in New York, wishing I were in Paris, but most likely getting ready for a lot of summer heat. So I will say goodbye, and we rendezvous again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for another edition of PentaLive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.